I mean, I've got my wild washer story.
Oh, there you go.
So when I was a 2 or 3 year old, um, just living in this like tiny little house with we had this crappy washer and um, not sure if it was just very old or just busted, but it'd be one of those where if you open the lid, it would remain running. So I was obsessed with like these little disc toys that I had. One day my parents were just out somewhere. My sister was supposed to be taking care of me. She was in the shower. I decided to, for whatever reason, go out to the backyard because it was like out on the side of the house. I don't know why, but um, I was out there and I climbed on top of the washer. There was a little stool, um, and I was just playing with my little disc toys and I opened the lid and some of them fell in as the washer was running. So I reached in and basically got washed. My face got all bruised up. Yeah, yeah. It's every once in a while the blood in my body just decides to recede because of this event. But yeah, pretty much. But I got really bruised up. It was pretty bad, but um, you know, kind of a traumatic experience as a kid. Um,
You got
but
that
now,
washing machine PTSD now.
yeah, I can't go near a washing machine earlier than 1994 models. So,
They all
um,
have a safety latch built in now,
oh yeah. I mean, mine does
which
too
is
now.
wild.
I run a load and you can't just unlock it unless you actually stop it. So,
It's because of kids like you.
you're welcome. Yep, you're welcome, General Electric. But
Oh man. Oh, I got a good one about lying and why you shouldn't lie. You shouldn't lie to your parents. You shouldn't lie to anybody. Um, I got a good one about. Let me see. Okay, so I was maybe 7 years old, um, possibly 8. I think 7. So we used to have metal bars in our bathrooms growing up when I was a kid in our second house that we lived in, which is the one my parents are still in. Um, in the bathroom, the towel rods, they were metal, and I used to play in the bathroom all the time. Like I'd fill up the sink and just like make whirlpools and play with my Hot Wheels and Batman and Robin toys and stuff. And I would just always be playing around in the bathroom. I would always fill up the sink and just be playing in the water. And one day I was playing in the bathroom and I was looking at um, the towel rods, and I thought, I wonder if I could hang on those like monkey bars. I wonder if I could, just just grab a hold of them and let my weight drop and just swing on them. So I tried it, right, and they weren't round. It wasn't like a cylindrical metal bar. It was square. So I took the towel off and I grabbed onto the towel bar and I just let my body drop. I just let all my weight go and it bent immediately. And I was like, oh crap. And I knew I was going to get in so much trouble if my parents found out. So I just covered it back up. I put the towel back on and I could hear my mom calling that like dinner was ready. So we set the table, like me and my siblings and stuff. We, put the table, whatever, put everything down, the plates, dishes, glasses, whatever. And then I noticed my hand was bleeding. So apparently the bar like pinched my hand when my body dropped and I bent the whole thing. The metal pinched me and cut my hand. So I noticed my hand was bleeding and I went into the kitchen and I started washing my hand off. And my mom was like, "What happened?" And I was like, "Oh, I just cut it on the faucet." And I don't know if she believed me. At the time I probably thought she really believed me. Looking back on it, I don't know. Um, I was like, "Yeah, I cut it on the faucet, and she's like, "Oh, just be careful." And then, we ate dinner, whatever, nothing came of it. And then maybe a couple days later, when my mom's changing the bathroom towels, I'm gonna guess that maybe this happened on like a Wednesday or a Thursday, and then my mom's changing out the towels on Saturday morning. And she's like, "What the hell happened to the bar? Who did this to the bar?" My dad's like, "What the hell happened to the bar?" He's flipping out. So they're asking my siblings, my older brother, he's like, "No, I didn't do anything." Asking my sister, she's like, "No, I didn't." And they're like, "Richard." So I got busted. They found out it was me. And now they have wooden towel rods, and they have for the last 21 years.
You want to hear
So
something hilarious?
that's what happens. Let's
This
hear it.
entire time I forgot to turn on my mic, so only you and Jones were being recorded, and it was just me here talking to myself.
No way.
Yeah. Until you started your story, I didn't realize that mine wasn't recording anything, so luckily I didn't say anything important, but it's something to add to the checklist of things to check next time.
You can just dub yourself in when you upload this.
Dude, I'll do one of those movie dubs.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it just for fun. That'd be funny.
Are you gonna have to correct it somehow? Or are we gonna have to restart? What are you gonna do?
Nah, I'll just whatever. You guys talked about stuff, so I'll leave that in there.
Just let it roll.
Yeah,
All
or I'll
right.
just do some stupid dub or something over it. I don't know. I'll just put a little note that says, "Oh, there was no audio on my end until whatever time." Don't worry, it's only us watching these things. Nobody gives a damn. But
For now.
talking on lies, Richard's story of lies reminded me of my learning about the what it means to lie. And mine was I was maybe 6. I think I had to be like 5 or 6. It's like a very distant memory. But I guess for some we had this old like Dodge Intrepid, like this ugly little car back in the day. And for whatever reason, when I was a kid, I loved hanging out in there, like pretending like I was driving it or just thinking like it was a little house or something. But I guess my dad had brought home some chocolate. I was a little crackhead when it came to chocolate, still am. So I guess my idea behind it was, oh, I'm gonna go take it into the Dodge and then I'm gonna eat it in there, so my sister don't get none, nobody else is gonna get any. And at the same time, they had just bought the little fun saver cameras, and I loved seeing the little flashing light that would go on. So I was sitting in there eating the chocolate, face full of chocolate. It's hot in Arizona, so it was melting everywhere. Got all over the seats, all while I was messing around with the little fun saver.
Oh
So
my
I did what I had to
god.
do. Killed the chocolate, went inside, pretend like nothing was happened, didn't realize my face was full of chocolate. I think my dad or my mom or someone noticed that the car was full of chocolate, and they're like, "Who did this?" Me thinking I was getting on. I don't know who did it. They kind of let me off the hook, but they said like a week later they found the camera and developed it, and it was just full of pictures of me like wide-eyed with chocolate all over it. They still have them in Phoenix. But it's just multiple angles of me all shocked when the flash goes off, chocolate in my hand in the
Oh
back of the
my
car.
god.
So I wasn't and still am not a very good liar, but
Oh, that's so good.
those are some good picks.
That is
I'd like to
great.
see those.
Yeah. Look all shocked because the flash scared me, I guess.
You're
Evidence.
just taking selfies for the day.
Yeah, I basically started selfies, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I could have been the first selfie. I don't know if Jones has a story about lying specifically, but Jones, do you before I bring up this other thing?
Not that I can think of right now. So let's move on.
I was thinking of Richard's idea of false memories, and I realized that I have one, which it's at Disneyland. In my memory, this is how it goes. I'm at Disneyland, and I'm standing next to like some like Disney themed trash can next to the teacup ride, and like in my memory, it's my dad, me, and then the trash can, and then my sister and my mom are on the teacups, and I'm watching them go around, and I'm like, hey, look at them, blah blah blah. And for the longest time, I thought that's what happened. But I happened to bring it up to my dad, and he said that I was actually in the teacups. Like, I was in that ride with them. Like, there's even pictures. There was never a time where I wasn't in the ride along with them. But in my memory, I never, like, if you ask me now, I still don't have any memory of ever being on those teacups. Like, if
Oh
you ask me, I'm
wow.
like, nah, I've never ridden the teacup ride in Disneyland. But according to my dad and to photo evidence, I have. So it's just, I guess that's an example of, was it false memories?
Yeah. That's pretty strange. I wonder why that happens because it's not like I understand that sometimes it could be from recanting the same thing over and over, and so you kind of create this false narrative that gets perpetuated and that becomes the false memory.
Hmm.
But I'm guessing this isn't a story you kept telling people over and over and over,
No.
so that wouldn't be the case. So why did it get altered in your mind? That's kind of a an interesting angle on it. Like what is it that creates the alternate version?
Yeah, because it's not, there'd be no purpose to really like changing the story of that. And it didn't get brought up until I realized that that didn't actually happen like years and
Hmm.
years later. But yeah, I don't know. It makes me think like I didn't do anything deliberately to change that memory. So I wonder how often that happens just in since then. Like how many things do we remember that aren't legit, I guess.
Yeah, the only thing I've had similar to that, but I think that was mainly based off a dream. Um,
Hmm.
I just strongly remember it was just my mom and I. We took this road trip down to Mexico to visit my grandma for like a day. It was literally a day trip, and this is like a, 6-hour drive to go out there. So going out there, it was like to drop something off and then coming back. So spending 12 hours total just to have like a 3-minute interaction with my grandma. I just
Hmm.
really, I remember thinking about that a lot. And I even asked my mom one day, I was like, "Hey, why did we go for such a short time over there to my grandma's house?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was saying like, why didn't we just stay there a little bit longer? We just dropped off whatever we were dropping off and we came back. She's like, that never happened, right? But I don't know if that's in the same category, but I think that was mostly just a dream that I was so convinced that was real,
Hmm.
Hmm.
where, I think I created this false memory, but I don't have anything else like that really that I know of
I've
yet.
I've had that happen before where I have things where I literally cannot remember if it's a memory or if it's a dream. And I kind of have to ask my mom sometimes, like, did we really do this or was this a dream that I had? It's I don't know. It's weird that it's always childhood stuff too because I had this thing where I couldn't tell if it was a dream or a memory where it was like me in a room with my mom and she would watch something on this TV. They would like wheel this TV over and she would watch something and then they would ask her questions and I was just like sitting in the room and I asked her like, "Did this happen or is this a dream that I had?" And she's like, "No, that was real. I used to go and do surveys for people. I would like get paid to do surveys if my older siblings would be at school or whatever, and it was before she had started homeschooling me. Maybe I was like 4 years old.
Hmm.
And it turns out like it was real. We would take the bus to some place and she would get paid to, watch like commercials or something. They'd put in like a VHS tape of these different things they were sampling, and then she would get polled on it. They would give her a survey, and then they would discuss it with her, and that was it. But it turned out that was real. And I had seen it in dreams also, I think. And so I had to confirm it with her to really find out if it was real. And she said, yeah, that was a real thing. So it's strange that it seems to always be childhood.
Hmm. Well, I was gonna say the only time I had that where it wasn't childhood, which was just like 5 years ago, but that was because of like the medication that I was taking at the time
Hmm.
when I thought I was dying. It One of the side effects was like super vivid dreams, and like I had like full fledged days that I would live through. I'd wake up, go to ASU, take some classes, hang out with Jones, eat, go to sleep again, and then wake up to find out that that was actually the dream. That I None of that actually happened yet. I just had like super realistic dreams that were really mundane. So for a while, the time that I was taking that medication, it was kind of difficult to tell what was real and what was recall, you know. So
Yeah. What was a recall? I
so that
have
that wasn't like a natural thing. I think that was just a like medication type.
instigated by the medication. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What were you gonna
I
say,
have
Richard?
this recurring dream. Well, I guess not recurring dream. It's not the same dream every time, but
Hmm.
I have this thing where I actually have like a second life that I live in my dreams. Whenever I'm in my house in my dreams, it's a different house than the one in real life, but it's the same one in my dream every time.
Hmm.
I'm in this like 2-story house. The second story has this odd hallway that does slope up, and it does kind of go to technically a third floor, but I never go through this hallway because there's something sinister about it. There's something really creepy about this hallway. So I always tell people like don't go up to the third floor. Don't go there. And I go to this house all the time in my dreams. If I'm at home, I'm in that house and I'm doing different things. It's not the same dream every time. It's not this recurring story or recurring elements, but I do live in this exact same building every
Hmm.
time. And I wonder why that is. I do have super realistic, really vivid dreams that, feel like it's another life because of how consistent it is or how often I go back to it. And
Hmm.
it's kind of odd.
Do you have anything like that, Jones? You don't remember your dreams though, huh?
I struggle to remember some of my dreams. The only like recurring thing for me is the theme of like going through a door, and that's basically a portal to somewhere else. And
Hmm.
nothing crazy, not like Rick and Morty portals or anything like that. It's literally just like if I go out of this room here, right now it's nighttime here, but I'll open the door and I'll just be like in a field,
Hmm.
daytime, right? Something like that. Um, there's actually a really interesting Radiohead music video. It's called Daydreaming that shows that exact concept of what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
It's basically that, like the moment I open the door, I'm just somewhere else. So I don't know. And it always leads me back to my grandma's house. Um, but that's really the only like recurring things in my dream.
I wonder why it's always your grandma's house.
I have no idea. I mean, I kind of grew up there a bit and went there like every single summer. So
Hmm.
I have like I have an attachment to that house, of course, an emotional attachment, but it could be something more. I don't know.
Hmm.
I I'm no expert on this kind of stuff, but yeah, it's always going back to that place.
Do you guys think dreams have any kind of meaning or purpose, or are they just random things in your head?
I
I think
feel
they're
like they,
pretty. Oh no, go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, I feel like they do have some meaning. I haven't found anything yet that like has provided me insight on something that's about to happen.
Hmm.
Um, but I have another question coming up, but Richard, go ahead and say what you were gonna say.
What was the full question again? You asked, do they have some meaning, or what? What else was it?
Just are they? Do they have any meaning, or is there anything special about dreams, or are they just random images that our brain makes while we sleep?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think sometimes it is just random things that are kind of firing in your brain, but sometimes it may also be something that you've been dwelling on, or something that you don't really focus on in your daily life, but it is something in the back of your mind that you've always wanted to revisit or something like that. Um, so sometimes, like, I'll have a dream where I see a friend of mine who I haven't seen in like 10 or 11 years, and I know I want to talk to that person, or I should reach out to that person. And so
Hmm.
maybe that's, my subconscious kind of dwelling on it in my sleep when they show up in my dreams. So I guess sometimes it's things like that where it's something in the back of your mind. It just keeps coming back up because it is an idea that you have. And then sometimes maybe it is just random things firing in your brain and you don't really know why they're coming up.
Hmm.
I think people are a very odd thing in dreams. The way people are represented, the way you interact with them.
Hmm.
Sometimes you might have a dream where you interact with someone in a certain way, and then you wake up and you kind of maybe feel badly about something that happened between you and that person.
Hmm.
Another thing is the way the person looks, the way they appear. I find that interesting because my grandpa is someone who shows up in my dreams. He died of pancreatic cancer in 2012,
Hmm.
and he never, in my dreams, never looks the way he did in the last years of his life. In the last years of his life, he was severely emaciated. He was really skinny and looked completely different because of the chemotherapy and just different, radiation treatment and things that he had been doing for the pancreatic cancer. But he was
Hmm.
normally a very big guy. He was big and tall. And in my dreams, that's what he looks like.
Hmm.
Anytime I see him in my dreams, he looks the way he looked when I was a little kid. And I
Hmm.
never see him the way he looked in the last years of his life. And I don't know why. I don't really know if there's a meaning to that, but it's the way that my brain represents him anytime I see him in my, you know, subconscious visuals.
I guess I do that too. I do that just now. Like if I think back, like on a not even a memory. Like if I imagine something in my head, it's always just there's a specific image that I have of a person in my head that like gets used whenever I dream about that person or daydream about some person. Like I don't know, maybe it's like the ideal, whatever you thought was like the best version of that
Hmm.
specific person is what your brain wants to use.
Yeah, it's like you just have one specific version of that person that is imprinted.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Jones, what were you gonna say?
So related to this, I was curious if you guys have heard of anything or personally experienced any sort of dreams that kind of are tied to to your own future and something that's become realized through those dreams, or maybe something that happens, you dream of something right before a traumatic event or something very saddening, something difficult in life.
Hmm.
Because, for example, I can just say not from my personal experience. I haven't had that, but I'm very interested in that. I just kind of wander around different forums and stuff for like paranormal things and whatnot. I just like hearing about people's experiences, and you read about different people, like different family members living in separate homes that will have like the same nightmare like the night before their grandpa dies or something like that, right? Or whatever, something like that. Anything that would be related to that.
I mean, I think I've told you about like maybe the easiest one to explain is I remember having a dream like years ago that I was on a train, just a random train, just driving by some like warehouses or some sort of factory looking place with like those metal roofs that just have the little lines in them, whatever, and glass windows. And that ended up being I saw that same I lived through that same sort of dream like a year into moving here. It turns out that factory, whatever it is, that warehouse is along the train tracks from Osaka to Kyoto. And I remember like being on the train and then it all kind of like just I realized it in like an instant like, "Oh, this is that dream I had however many years ago." Like just once I saw like the factory passing by and then I noticed everything else like, "Oh, I'm in a train, some random train, but now I know where I am and where it is." So that was like what I think of as like a future sort of dream.
And you had never been through that path before?
No, I had the dream when I still lived in Arizona. I was maybe like I want to say like 21 or something, still living in Hoodyear in the
Wow.
west side. And then I remembered having the dream once it happened like 3 years ago when I
Hmm.
moved here. Like, yeah, you could still take the train and see it. It's pretty weird when it happened.
Yeah, I've had the same thing happen, and I don't realize it. Basically, you just think it's like deja vu.
Hmm.
I could be sitting in someone's dining room having a conversation with them, and then I say something or they say something, and then I realize I've already had this conversation, and then I remember like, oh man, this was a dream I had. This was a dream that I had like 8 months ago. I was in a
Hmm.
dining room and I was talking to someone, and then I realized that that's what it was. So at the time that I had the dream, I probably didn't even remember the dream when I woke up, and then it all of a sudden comes back once it's, um, I don't know, actualized when it happens in reality, and then
Hmm.
I remember the dream. Then it triggers the memory of the dream,
Yeah.
and it's usually that. It's basically like a form of deja vu,
Hmm.
and I guess it could be that you almost have like a dream of the future, or it's the opposite. Your future consciousness was like projected into your past body.
That
Yeah.
would be something like where people say like, "Oh, what if this is like a memory? What if we're already at like the end of our life and this is like the flashback reel type thing?"
Oh, like Jacob's ladder. Oh Lord.
Like maybe it's a little mix up and when it gets played out, a little skip in the record or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, almost like you're not supposed to know. You're not supposed to know that stuff in advance, and it just slipped through the cracks on accident, a glitch.
That'd be wild.
But yes, I have had that happen. I mean, not that many times. I would say probably like 4 times in my whole life.
Hmm. I have one that happens pretty regularly, but it always I have this fear because like basically because of that dream that ended up being an actual event. I often dream of I don't know if I die, but it's some person that I'm afraid of. So it's like I don't know how to explain it, like a feeling of death. Like seeing this person is basically like an omen of dying. But it's a
Oh, wow.
I always have a dream that I'm in a room, like in my room right now. I'm in my living room, and the dream would be that I'm sitting here talking to you guys, and the sliding door opens up, and this person walks through, and then like I get this feeling of like, oh, that's it, something bad is happening,
Hmm.
but I have that dream in different locations. So I'll have that feeling of, oh, I've had this dream before, and then I'll look like to the door that opened in the dream and just be like waiting for someone to walk through it. It happened to me when I was teaching in class, like in my first year being here. It happened. Where was I? I think at Rena's like family's house. It like happens pretty regularly where I'll remember these dreams that I have, and then I'll like get like a cold sweat, and then I'll look to the door that like opened up in that dream, but nothing ever happens. So it's like everything falls into place except for the person coming through the door.
Jeez.
So
But you
like,
have that dread. You have
yeah,
the feeling.
I'll get all like nervous and like start sweating and stuff. And it happens pretty regularly. It'll happen like at least once a year, and it's been happening for like a few years.
The
Yeah, it's
dream
always
happens at
missing.
least once a year?
Hmm?
The dream happens at least once a year, or the actual event of you realizing the situation you're in happens once a year?
I'm not sure when the dreams happen. Like it's hard to tell, but that experience of remembering the dream happens maybe like once a year. But yeah, it just excludes that last portion of it. So every time, I don't know what's gonna happen. That one time that someone actually does wander through. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I have this like theory that I'm gonna die suddenly somehow. My gut tells me that, I guess. So
Dang, that's horrible.
yeah, that's why I feel like dreams have to have like some kind of deeper meaning, or there's something to dreams, I guess, is just my gut feeling.
I think sometimes yes and sometimes no. Like I said, sometimes I think it's just your brain kind of firing random things, and you have like a really mundane dream about going to the grocery store and then nothing
Hmm.
happens, whatever. And then sometimes you have dreams where it's a very particular event
Hmm.
and it kind of sticks with you after you wake up and you kind of think about the dream throughout the day. And yeah, I think it's a combination for sure. You get ones that maybe mean something to you
Hmm.
or seem like they definitely convey something, and then other times you get ones where you're just like, well, that was weird. I had this dream where I sat on a big couch. It doesn't really mean
Then it
anything,
turned into cheese and I ate it.
but
I think there's definitely something to say and something to like analyze in the recurring stuff, right?
mm,
Like why my grandma's house? Why that house with the creepy hallway? Why
yeah,
your experience of someone just walking in through a door?
Hmm.
I there's there's I believe there's some message being sent there. And it doesn't necessarily have to be sinister or anything crazy, but I feel like
Supernatural.
yeah, I feel like our brains are just trying to say something, but in a very cryptic way. But there's something there. I feel like it's not just nothing.
could also be parallel realities. It could be yourself in other planes of
Hmm.
existence, or I don't know how else to explain it. Not like you have lived past lives, but like you have already existed
Hmm.
at the same time with slight variations, in another plane, and that could account for
So that like
the
there's an e-dog in some universe where some dude opened the door and blasted me, and that's why the me here kind of feels that way.
Could be.
I don't know if that's exactly what
Hmm.
happened, but it could account for like some of the displacement that you have when you're conscious.
Is
I
Well, Jones,
Go
tell me
ahead.
first, because mine's a question. Really, what's yours?
I was gonna say I definitely subscribe to the idea of like parallel universes. I mean that's an interesting topic to entertain, that there's an infinite amount of universes where the one action that you did or didn't do happened, right? So I I've thought about that before where, there's probably some some reality out there where I decided to one day just snap
Hmm.
I had enough. I was stuck in traffic or whatever, and decided to just
Light it up.
act like a not like that, but just
Uh,
like just do something really dumb, like to
hmm.
start like get out of my car and start kicking other people's doors or something, just like
Yeah.
out of anger. But I didn't do that. But like, what if I did? Any possibility, you know? I just feel like there's an infinite amount of
Do you
places
know
out there. So
where that idea comes from? Like, why did parallel universes even? Why did people start thinking that that's even possible?
I think it's a natural inclination. Not that like it's inherent in all people, but I think a lot of people wonder that. But I think after things started coming forward about string theory or the possibility of things existing in other planes that are just vibrating at a different frequency, once things started coming forward about that, I think it became a little more believable to people. The concept itself of parallel existence or quote unquote parallel realities, parallel universes, that whole thing, if there
Hmm.
was just other planes that were moving or vibrating at a different frequency but were occupying the same time and space.
I wonder if there's any way to like prove that, or any chance of like crossing over type situations.
That
That's
could be death.
like a sci-fi movie. Oh yeah, that's true. Because in this thing, there would be like no end to it, right? There's like an infinite amount of.
Well, the other idea could be maybe you are not, maybe you have multiple lives. What if there is a finite number of, let's say, souls?
Hmm.
What if there are only 68 billion souls, and those souls go into different bodies at different rates at different time frames and exist as different people? And so right now, three of them that are on the planet Earth are us, right,
Hmm.
inhibiting these bodies. But away from the theory of you having so-called past lives, like a past life where you were an Asian dude that lived in Washington, D.C., or a past life where you were some dude in colonial times.
Hmm.
Aside from that idea, the concept of you being a different Emiliano, of me being a different Richard, after the death in this version, you could just be in one of these other realities. I'm born. Once again, I'm still Richard, but then it's another life. I'm wiped. I have a clean slate. I have no memory of the previous existence as Richard that was in this existence, this time frame, whatever it is, this
Hmm.
reality or universe, whatever you want to call it. Then I'm a different one. And you, with the same soul, are the different incarnations of this singular person. So maybe you are always this person, but you kind of exist or inhibit that in different ways.
Dude, my
Just an
brain,
idea. It's just an idea I had.
my brain is like short circuiting trying to follow. But
So it's like reincarnation, but you
yeah,
are just yourself again, but in a
you just
different
don't know that.
existence.
So
Yeah,
there's
you
no
just
like
don't know that.
I'm reincarnated as a cricket or a.
No, no.
Huh. I would like
What
that idea more than like being reincarnated as like a random jabron.
yeah. So you keep living as yourself over and over again, and
Hmm.
you don't even know it, but you live every single parallel existence. You live the one where you were late for work on
Hmm.
June 23rd. You live the one where you made it on time on June 23rd. You live the one where you kicked people's cars in traffic. You end up living every single possible version of yourself over billions and billions and billions of years.
I wonder if there would then be one universe where someone discovers how to go into the other universes So like maybe one of these days it's just gonna blow up in the sky. Like, hey, we're here, jabronis. The Nazis, the universe where the Nazis won, and
Oh my gosh.
it'll be like Wolfenstein. They have all the super tech because they have no morals, and they just create and create. So like, yeah,
Oh
we
my
got time
gosh.
travel, everything.
It's basically like the story of the Vex and Destiny, you know?
That's true. Yeah.
Just robots that have the found the ability to travel through time and space, can
They
just
just
manipulate whatever because they got to that first.
they just go back in time and wipe you out before you even
Yeah.
begin.
Yeah. No one's found Earth 52 yet so far, so I think we're good.
I see. I have problem with time travel. I don't think
Mm,
that will ever be possible.
mm.
The alternate dimension and getting to other planes of existence is a whole other conversation, but I don't think time travel would ever be feasible. Even if it were, you wouldn't be able to pinpoint exact moments to go back to.
Wouldn't it be like the Avengers, where like you go back in time, and then it kind of just creates another timeline? It doesn't really change the one that you're on.
I guess, but even outside of that concept, they had to go back to a particular moment. They had to go back to 2012,
Hmm.
right? But there is no there is no
2012.
no well there is no exact moment and second in time
Hmm.
that is pinpointed and exists as this one piece of air is this point in time. You
Hmm.
can't go back to 1992 at 1:34 in the morning and 22 seconds because that doesn't exist. We made that up. We made up the system of clocks and calendars and all of that. Like that there
So
isn't
time would
really
have to be like a physical thing, like an undiscovered element, basically, to
yeah,
actually.
because there is no way to you can't just dial into a computer this exact time and minute and
Hmm.
second because what does that even mean? Even saying that, well, that's 6 hours into the day, it's 6 hours, 22 minutes, and 18 seconds into that day. But it's like, well, how do you know that that's that day? We made up time cycles, we made up numbers and all of this stuff. There is no way to actually say. Do you understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, I do. It's just
But what if you just say, I want to go back 3 years exactly from right now, right?
Yeah, I guess that would be the only way to do it. You would have no way to pinpoint exact timestamps because we fabricated those concepts. But yeah, if you had a way to have exact measurements and just go back that amount,
it would just be like
yeah,
on off, and then you you
yeah,
show up
maybe
wherever
that
you
could
show
work.
up.
On the topic of universes and reincarnation and all that, have you guys heard about the egg theory?
Like the
No,
chicken and
what's
the
that?
egg.
No. No. I've got I
But
pulled it up here. Um I pulled it up here. It's a little paragraph. Well, it's a bit of a lengthy paragraph, but I can read this out to you.
read it.
It, all right. So, you wake up in a place after your death. A man walks up to you. You note that this man looks like a teacher more than the Almighty. You immediately ask him about your wife and children. You ask about heaven or hell. He concluded that you would be reincarnated. You end up mentioning religion and how the Hindus were correct, to which he responds that all religions are correct. You two continue to walk as you speak to him about your next life. This time you would be going back in time as a little village girl. You get confused by this statement. You ask about going back in time, to which the man responds that time only exists in your universe. You notice that if you exist at random points at time, you have possibly encountered yourself sometime, to which the man confirms. It is a fact that you have interacted with yourself, because you are everyone. The man states that the reason he made this universe is for you to mature. Every life you live is a new experience, which makes you mature more. You get confused and reply with, "What about everyone on Earth?" To which he responds that you are everyone on Earth. You are astonished by this. You were everyone who has ever lived and everyone who will live. The man goes on to tell you that you are his child. So you ask if you are a god, to which he responds with, not yet. You are still a fetus, and you'll be born once you live every life that has ever existed in that universe.
Dude,
Oh
that reminds
wow.
me. That just like as you were telling me that story, it reminds me of my nephew. A little story. When he was about maybe like 5, 4, whenever little kids start learning how to talk, he was with my sister,
That's
and
like two.
is it
Yeah.
like full sentences, not just like hi, bye bye, stuff like that, like where they could actually say something. Because he asked her, he was like, "Who's God?" And my sister like gave him the typical answer. She's like, "Oh, he's the person that created everything. He's so and so, this and this, like the biblical version of God." And he's like, "Oh, that's strange. I thought I was God because I remember creating you. And you guys are all me." So it's like we were just like, apparently our little nephew's a little prophet or demigod or something. But like up until that point, he thought all of us were just like different versions of himself that he made up, and like everything around him was his own creation. So that was kind of weird. It just reminded me of that.
Yeah, I really like that theory because it's just like time is just a circle, really, if that's the best way you can comprehend it. But you've been everyone, you've been Hitler, you've been Jesus,
But in that
you've been
thing, are there other people or is there only you?
it's only you. So if that theory was correct, right? You, E-Dog, are the one in this universe. You're the only one. I'm you. Richard's
Hmm.
you. Everyone else you've come into contact is you. It's just you living at some different point.
Hmm.
So your your life is essentially recycled X amount of times throughout history, right?
Hmm.
And you just kind of jump back and forth and get to live a different life depending on how moral you are and whatnot. But
If
it's
you
all,
act right.
yeah. But
I was thinking
Not
that
real.
maybe it was like a different thing where like if you were saying there's just loops, I thought there would be like a Richard loop, a me loop, a Jones loop, something like that.
no, this is just a universe only for you, and it's for your own learning purpose, for your own maturity.
In this theory, is there like a higher power above you, or are you everything, all that ever is and was and will
Well,
be?
you are that man's child, so
Oh, I
that's the
see.
higher power above you. That man created this universe for you to live in, so that you can just
Hmm.
develop.
That would be
But
depressing though.
but the theory is that it's for you to become God, right?
Hmm.
It, but I don't know what happens after that. That's just sort of the summary of the theory of you being reincarnated multiple times,
Hmm.
but you have been literally everyone that has ever existed.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
So I don't know if this is also like falling into solipsism, where it's like you're the only one that exists and there's no one else. There's no other universes that are being created for something else. It's just this single use, single
Hmm.
universe. I don't know where that falls into, but it kind of sounds solipsist in a way.
My mind is whirlwinding right now. Trying to. Where am I? I don't know, Richard. What do you think? While I try and.
I think it is kind of like a form of solipsism, except for there being the higher power. Because with solipsism, you're like the only thing that exists. Everything
Right.
else is um, a function of yourself or a piece of yourself or a projection from you, something like that. But yeah, it is essentially like an alternate form of solipsism. But I really like that. That's a very cool concept, and especially the idea of you being told like you're just a fetus. Like you're at the bottom of the barrel. You're at the very start of this right now.
Yeah, and the
You're
moment you get sent back to live another life, you completely forget about your past one, but you've
yeah,
lived it.
you are 0.002% done. You're just barely moving through.
Right.
But it also is cool because people always have this well, I don't know. I guess this is a whole other conversation, but the concept of people thinking like I'm going to see this person when I die. Like they
Mm.
died 10 years ago and I haven't been able to see them because they are gone now, but when I'm gone, when I die, I will see them again. But with this concept, that's gone. You
Mm.
were that person.
Yeah,
You were that you don't need to wait for them to be there because they're already there.
because you are them.
I don't know. My gut reaction. I wouldn't like that.
You
That sounds
wouldn't.
Nah. I want
Yeah,
people to be their own people.
I personally don't um I guess wouldn't believe or fall into that one, but I do think it's a cool concept. I do think
Yeah,
I
that's
wouldn't want
interesting.
it to be true. Is I guess what I'm
Yes, I
saying.
wouldn't want that to be true
Yeah.
either, I suppose.
yeah.
I don't want. Man, Jones is me. Man, Buck Jones. I don't want, I want Jones to be Jones, not me.
Yeah.
Nah, that'd be too weird. But
I was. Oh, go ahead, Edon.
I was gonna say this reminds me of Richard and I started talking about it in one of the other podcasts of basically like the whole simulation thing where I was saying that I feel like if we ever did do like a simulation of real life, that once you started it, you could never really get out of it. Because I was saying, like, imagine how depressed you would be if, like, you live through a life and then you die and you wake up and you're like, hey, all right, simulation done. And just the massive, like, depression you'd go into realizing that none of it was legit. Like, all those friends you made were just, computer programming, whatever. So, like,
Hmm.
I feel like it'd just be like an endless loop of like, all right. Richard was saying like a way to cope with the loss basically would be like instantly go back in and then forget about it again.
Yeah, because it would be devastating. You have that to a lesser degree, even with dreams.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Sometimes with dreams, you have, I mean, now it could be something really serious. It could be me having a very realistic dream where I'm with my grandpa.
Hmm.
I think that it's real life and I'm not aware that I'm dreaming. But this is just hypothetical.
Hmm.
Um, because the majority of the time I am aware that I'm dreaming, but
Hmm.
that's something else. But so let's say I'm not, and I wake up and then I realize it was a dream, and it just kind of hurts.
Hmm.
I got to see him, I got to have this conversation, it was really great, and then I woke up and it's taken away from me, and that can be um, I don't know, it can be jarring. It kind of sticks with you for the rest of the day. You think about it, or even, I would have something like that even when I was a kid. I would have a dream where I had like a really rare Yu-Gi-Oh card, and I was like, "Dang, I can't believe I got a pack that had this in it." And then I wake up and it wasn't real, and I was
Hmm.
just like, "Man, I don't have that card." I would look through my stuff and I'd be like, "I don't have that in real life." So I think it would be devastating for someone to be a part of a virtual existence like that. And then well, you were saying the concept of them like living a whole life in it, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Even with a time displacement, even if they're only plugged in for like 6 to 8 hours and they
Hmm.
live like 88 years in
Yeah.
that life, when they get out of that they would be ruined.
Yeah. I would just thinking about it is depressing. So I can't imagine it actually happening.
Your brain doesn't know Well, your brain does not distinguish between real emotions and fake emotions. There are no fake emotions.
Hmm.
You are either feeling it or you're not. So if you have a dream where you're scared, your brain isn't saying, oh, it's just pretend fear. It's not real fear. Your brain is having the chemical reaction of fear. It's real. Even when you are sleeping, and you're having a dream where you're afraid of something, right? Or even actors. If an actor is doing a scene where they are maybe acting out a scene that's really emotional and they make themselves cry, their brain does not know, hey, this is fake sadness. Like you're feeling it no matter what. Your brain
Hmm.
does not distinguish between a fake emotion and a real emotion. It's all real. It is all a real chemical reaction in your brain, no matter what. So if someone were plugged into something like that, again, it those experiences are having an actual effect on the brain. If they're living this entire life, those chemical reactions of all of the things that they're experiencing are actually happening in their brain, which would make it even that much more difficult, you know?
No, by the way, that little that was me. I forget his name. Who's the bald dude that betrays everyone in the Matrix?
Cypher?
Cypher. That was when he's eating the steak.
That's
Yeah,
exactly.
I
I
choose the
knew what you were doing.
Matrix. Yeah, we were talking about this, Jones, because I was saying like it related to that thing. My suggestion that we should like just choose a place to drive to and just see what's out that way. Where I was thinking that like the world is becoming so like it's so easy to discover things without actually going anywhere. Like
Hmm.
just googling it and you could kind of feel like, "Oh, I know what to expect from there." So I was saying that like I feel like eventually the world is just going to be so boring and mundane and there's no real feeling of discovery. So like people would end up like simulating that feeling like, "Oh, I want to go back to when we didn't have maps and I'm a real
Recall.
yeah, basically that."
You ever
But I
dreamed of a
thought
vacation at the bottom of the ocean?
I thought that like I thought if you knew that it was a simulation that people would get bored with it really quickly. So you'd have to
Hmm.
have it be where like you forget about it when you go in and
Yeah,
then remember once you come out.
because if you're going to be a secret agent on Mars, and if you know that it's fake while
Hmm.
you're experiencing it, it's not going to work. It's not going to be the same.
So like I don't think I you know how there's people that say, "Oh, we're doing it right now." I don't know about that, but then I guess it would be impossible to know, huh? So,
You wouldn't be able to tell.
god damn. Screw it. You know what? Let's just live life. Matrix, no Matrix.
That's the point, right?
Yeah.
That's the verdict.
Have you ever looked into like beyond like the goofy little books, like Back to Dreams kind of like the dream where your teeth fall out, where it's like everyone around the world has that sort of dream.
Yeah, that's the most common dream.
You ever looked into why that is?
I think because it's just such a common experience for humans. As humans, we lose our teeth,
Hmm.
and I guess it's just one of those things that imprints on people. But it is the most common dream. The dreams of flying and dreams of
Hmm.
losing your teeth.
But there's nothing like because I remember once people were like, "Oh, it means that you're hiding a secret or something
No, I
like
think
that."
that stuff is so stupid where people have these definitive concepts that are represented by any, definitive
Hmm.
symbolism for everything in your dreams. Oh, you saw an eagle in your dream? That means you're gonna get money,
Soar.
whatever. I don't know, stupid stuff like that. It doesn't nah, I don't believe any of that.
The only one I think would apply to this, and I read this such a long time ago, and I don't even know where I read it, but when someone specific that you know, someone that you can actually identify, dies in your dream, and that's sort of that's a symbolism of you giving them life almost, or you sort of putting them in a maybe a slightly higher temporary priority, right? And I think that's just, but that's just going back to the subconscious. I mean, it could just be like you're really worried about this person and you've been thinking about them, and then in your dreams they die. So then you might, it's because they've been on your mind or something like that. So that's the only one I can think of. And it's definitely happened to me where I've dreamt of someone dying and I'm like, holy crap, like I should probably like check on them or talk to them. It hasn't happened in a long time, but
Hmm.
I at least I agree with that interpretation from what I've read. That's the only one though.
Have you ever had dreams where like you could feel like heat or cold, something like that?
Hmm.
What is like
Definitely.
one that you remember that kind of stands out?
I can't
I have
remember
one.
any specifically, but I know that I can, and I have like night terrors though. I have like really realistic stuff where I'm like screaming in my sleep though. So I have really extreme
God damn.
versions of that. So I don't know where to kind of pinpoint that, but no, I do have that where you have the actual sensations, or if like you're crying in your dream and then you
Hmm.
wake up and like you're actually crying, you actually have like tears on your face, stuff like that, or if you're like fighting in your dream and you wake up and you punching your pillow, whatever. I
Yeah, I
can't
think
think of a specific example though.
I had an interest. I may have told Jones my dream. I just thought of it because of that dream, but a story for you. I had this dream that I was still in my Osaka apartment. It's a little room. It's like a little box, basically a closet. But the dream was that I woke up because I felt like water falling on my face, and I woke up and like at the top of the ceiling, it was just covered with clouds, like dark clouds, and it was raining, and you could see like little lighting of thunder and stuff in there.
It's
And I just
awesome.
sat in the room. Just you could feel the water. It was cold. But I was sitting there for a while, and then out of the corner of my eye I noticed that there's like a ladder that goes up into the clouds. So for whatever reason I say, "Oh, I'm going to climb up this ladder." So I climb up and then I go up into the clouds. And then it's just sort of like an image change. I don't like ever stop climbing the ladder. I'm just in a different place. And I'm at the top of like a butte, like those little. It's kind of like a mesa.
Hmm.
I'm at the top of one of those buttes, but it's like covered in snow. So then I feel like cold, like it's freezing cold out here. And I'm on top of that, and you can see like just desert all around me. And I'm trying to find like a place to like climb down because it's freezing and I don't have any winter clothes. But at some point I turn around and like at the center of the thing is like another ladder, and it just goes up into like a clear sky. So I climb that ladder and then I go up, and like the next place is like a little campsite with those like little old school like teepee type tents, and I could hear people talking and stuff. But I like I haven't seen anyone, so I go searching in all the little tents and I can't find anyone, and I end up like at the center of like all the little tents set up. It's like a little fire, and I end up looking at the fire and then like feeling warm and falling asleep, and then I wake up in the real world. But it's just I don't know. I don't know how you could feel temperature in a dream. I can understand emotions, but it's weird that
Hmm.
like you could feel cold and heat and water and all that stuff.
And you had it all in one dream.
Yeah, that was it's
I
I don't
wouldn't
know. Yeah. Hmm?
I wouldn't know how to explain the changes in temperature and stuff like that, but I feel like if this is just a tough topic for me because I struggle remembering dreams, but I feel like I've had something similar where I'm in like a tundra or something,
Hmm.
very wintry sort of area and it's cold. But if I think it's happened to me before where like I wake up in the middle of that dream and it was just because like the AC is blasting and I just don't
Hmm.
have any blankets at the time. Like I just wasn't covered.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like that sort of stuff, it's just like environmental things that are happening that may just explain that. But I don't know how to explain your changes from hot to cold or
To
vice
water.
versa. Yeah, I mean, I've had one dream I remember where in my dream I fell.
Hmm.
I think I was probably just climbing something and I fell on my leg and I woke up with like a sore leg.
Hmm.
What
But
the
I don't
hell?
but again, I'm not saying this is because the dream caused it or maybe my brain is trying to make some sort of phantom pain here, but
Hmm.
it could have been that I just happened to, maybe I was like putting extra pressure on my leg that day and it just didn't build up until I
Hmm.
finally got to rest and I was sleeping and then the soreness finally came on. So my brain had to simulate something in a
Hmm.
dream as it was happening
Uh,
to feel that pain. And then I wake up and then I realize, oh, I have this pain.
Yeah, that's interesting. To have it informed by the reality.
Yeah.
I do that in like nightmares and stuff. Like if something, this one isn't a mystery. It's just me. But like if something attacks me, apparently like while I'm sleeping, I'll like attack myself. So like if something claws at me, like I'll wake up the next day and be like, why is my back burn? And I'll have like a big scratch from just me like kind of attacking myself in my sleep.
Oh crap.
So like on occasion I'll wake up all clawed up and I'll be like, damn, must have been a wild dream or something.
Yeah.
But I've never had a broken leg woken up kind of dreams.
Yeah, I mean, my leg wasn't snapped in two, but I was feeling some pressure. One other thing I was going to mention too, maybe,
You
you
shave your
know,
mustache in your dream and then you wake up clean shaven.
yeah, that'd be great. No, another thing that I just feel like a lot of it is influenced by whatever condition you're in right now. Like in the real world is, for me, like let's say if a blanket bundles up, I'm really sensitive to that. If there's just like
Mm.
a small bundled up piece of a blanket, because I have a really thick blanket that I sleep on. If I'm sleeping on my side and I like in my dream I get punched, but then I wake up, like I get punched in the rib, but I'll wake up and then I'll realize like, ow, this hurts, but that's only because I've been sleeping on this knot of a
Mm.
blanket and it's just been causing me discomfort while I've been sleeping. So again, my brain had to maybe think of a situation or like, create some scenario that would match that feeling.
Dude, I want to talk about ghosts, but I don't think we have time for it in this podcast. So we should probably save it for another one. Dreams always seem to like, I don't know, like paranormal in some way or supernatural, so it always kind of
Definitely.
connects to
Yeah.
like ghostly things for me. But I think that is the end of this little dream adventure of ours for this
All right.
podcast.
Right on.
It's been real, folks. We shall see you in the next one.
Peace out.